Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 5, Episode 36, The Bewitchin' Pool, written by Earl Hamner Jr. and starring Mary Badham as Sport. And yes, this is the last episode of the Twilight Zone, and in my opinion, unfortunately, it is just not very good, and I feel like there are two main reasons for this. The first is that while the lead actress gives a solid enough performance, for whatever reason there were some issues with the sound during production, and they use a different lady's voice over hers, and it is somewhat distracting, and I do feel that it hurts the episode. And the second problem, which is even a bigger one in my opinion, is that the key character of Aunt T is not handled very well either. So this episode starts with two parents, Gloria and Gil, and two children, Sport and Jeb, and we find out very abruptly that the parents are getting divorced and they want to know who the kids would like to live with. And all these people are doing is arguing, and they're very crabby, but I get it, they need to be this way to further this story. And basically the kids are upset about this, and they leave, and they dive into a swimming pool, and they basically disappear in the water, and we don't know where they went. So after the opening narration, we find out actually that that scene that we just saw is really going to take place at the end of the episode. So why they decided to show the end of the episode first, I'm not really sure. I didn't really see any point to this in this particular case. But whatever. So now we go back to the first scene in chronological order, and we have the two parents, and they don't get along. They're arguing about her career and the children, and all they do is fight and argue about everything. Maybe just a little bit over the top, but I get the point. I understand what they're trying to do here. And in the meantime, the kids are talking about what might be in the swimming pool. They're imagining another place, maybe another world, and all of a sudden, this kid appears in the pool, and he says, "If you come with me, I'll take you to a secret place." So the kids decide to dive in to the pool, and they do come up in a different place, and there's a lot of other children there. And eventually, after a few minutes, they wind up by this house, and there's a lady that lives there named Aunt T, and she's a key character, and we find out that she takes care of all the children there, and that's a lot of kids to take care of, I'm just saying. And here's where my other problem with the episode starts to happen. We really don't learn anything about Aunt T at all. We have this scene where the kids are icing cake and not much is happening. I felt like they could have given us a little more insight into her character. Instead, she's supposed to be this loving, caring lady, Aunt T, but she just comes across as kind of strange and forced. It really didn't work for me at all, and like I said, not much is really actually happening in this scene. So eventually we do get a scene where Sport and Jeb argue about staying or leaving, and Sport says they have to go home because they love their parents and their parents love them. And I'm not totally convinced of that, but I'll buy it for now. So they do reluctantly go back home, and when the kids come back up, the parents are still arguing and they want to know where the kids have been. And of course, when Sport and Jeb tell them, they don't believe them, because who would believe they were in another world in the swimming pool? So they basically get in trouble, and then we go to the next day, and we find out that Jeb is missing. So we know that he went to Aunt T's, of course. Where else would he go? So Sport goes after him, and we get another scene at Aunt T's, which is very similar to the first one, with nothing really happening again. It feels just like a replay of the first one, basically. And Sport tells Jeb he has to come back home. Jeb's not having it, but she says things are going to be better. I know they are. So Aunt T convinces Jeb to go back because she says love is very important. Complete rehash of the other scene, basically. So when the kids come back up out of the water and go home, we basically get the beginning scene over again, where the parents are talking about the divorce, but there's a little more lead in this time. I think maybe this scene was repeated because now we're supposed to know more about the situation and the characters. The only problem is that we really don't. So this scene didn't really work for me. It felt kind of repetitive. Actually, I think maybe it hurt the episode because I had already seen it before. I knew what was going to happen, and it really doesn't add anything new. So ultimately, things turn out the same way. The kids jump in the swimming pool again, and of course they're not coming back. They're going to stay with Aunt T, and I guess this will be a good ending for the kids. I'm not really sure what happens to the parents, but I guess we don't care. So I guess Aunt T has two more kids to take care of. Overall, I just don't feel this episode was very effective or really worked well at all. So I'm going to give the Bewitchin' Pool a 1.5 out of 5. Definitely an episode you don't need to watch unless you want to watch it just because it's the last episode of the show and you want to say you saw the last episode. So 1.5 out of 5 for the Bewitchin' Pool, and as always, thank you very much for watching.